One of the things you also heard from President Trump, of course, was a reference just before we dipped in there when he talked about Iran, was a reference to the late Senator Lindsey Graham after Graham's sudden death Saturday night. In just the last couple of hours in South Carolina, his home state, we're learning it will be his sister who will finish out the remainder of her brother's Senate term. We heard that from the governor of the state hours after President Trump himself recommended he do so. And now Darlene Graham-Nardone says she is ready to finish the job for her brother.
Lindsey has always been there for me, and now I will be there for him. I miss you more than I can even put into words, but I'm going to do this. I got it.
Look at some of the tributes here outside Senator Graham's office, his home, flowers, notes, etc. One woman signing a book while draped in a Ukrainian flag. Of course, the 71-year-old Graham was an outspoken supporter of Ukraine. Among many foreign policy issues he worked on before that death, from what his office says were heart troubles, a death that the FBI apparently wants to know more about. You see here video our team captured today of at least 20 people in FBI shirts here at Graham's Capitol Hill home in the last couple of hours. Two law enforcement sources say those agents are there investigating out of an abundance of caution. We've asked Graham's office for more, but haven't heard back. Sahil Kapur is joining us now. Sahil, let me play what President Trump said a couple of minutes before he started talking about Iran there in the Oval Office about Senator Graham. Watch.
I want to pay my respects to Lindsey, who was our friend. He was a friend of all of us. He was a great guy. He was a great politician, actually. And it's hard to believe he's gone.
Of course, Senator Graham, I don't have to tell you, Sahil, was one of President Trump's closest allies, although obviously their relationship didn't start that way. President Trump said, hey, his sister should fill out the remainder of his term. Graham's sister, not a politician herself, right? Why her?
Well, first off, Hallie, Lindsey Graham really was one of a kind. He had this ability to unify the old school wing of the Republican Party from which he hailed. He understands the new MAGA right, the new movement, and he understood President Trump very well, which is why he was able to communicate with him. Part of this is his own dramatic evolution on President Trump, from first being a fiery critic, warning that Donald Trump was a danger to the Republic, to becoming a staunch ally. Again, sort of broke with him around January 6th and then found his way back to Trump. So yes, there are some criticisms in there that he's gotten throughout his career of maybe some political opportunism. Around here, his colleagues remember him for his wit, for his humor, for as a friend in many cases, and as a very effective senator on the causes that he cares about. Now, why his sister? The central reason here is that she was the least controversial. She was the least objectionable one. She is not a politician. She is not a public figure, but she's given no indication that she wants to seek a full 6-year term, which Republicans are now going to have to find a nominee to do. And she's someone who is sort of interwoven in Lindsey Graham's life story, as someone who's cut ads for him, talked about how he was a really good brother when when they lost their parents young.
Sahil, we should also note here, we're just getting word from our Senate producer, Frank Thorpe, that she will be sworn in to take her brother's Senate seat tomorrow afternoon, according to what two sources familiar are telling NBC.
We thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.